Hey, it's Pavel Sivakov, and you're listening to the Physical Performance Show.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
Phelps with 10 meters left. 3 minutes too good. The crowd roaring. 3 wickets down.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Welcome to episode 322 of the Physical Performance Show, brought to you by Polar's brand new Polar Pacer and Polar Pacer Pro running watches. I'm Brad Beer, sports and exercise physiotherapist and founder of Pogo Physio. Each week, we'll bring you the latest and greatest information and inspiration designed to help you perform at your physical best. And of course, we do this across a range of our different episodes, expert editions, featured performers, coaches' corners, interest editions, and learnings catch-up episodes. And hot off the back of last week's expert edition with Australian-based sports physiotherapist Anthony Nasser, PhD candidate, which looked at the diagnosis, treatment and prevention of a common running and triathlon/cycling-related injury, that is proximal hamstring tendinopathy. Today we're jumping over to a featured performer episode. And you'll enjoy career highs, lows and learnings from professional cyclist and INEOS Grenadier Pavel Sivakov. Now, earlier this year, our former guest, also INEOS Grenadier professional cyclist and Ironman triathlete Cam Worth, featured on episode 310. Not long after that, Cam shot me a message that mentioned that his teammate Pavel Sivakov had been enjoying the Physical Performance Show. I quipped back that it'd be great to feature Pavel, and here we are. Now, at the time of recording, Pavel was sitting at the top of Sierra Nevada, having just completed a monstrous training week that included 18,609 meters of elevation or climbing across 767 kilometers, 28 hours and 35 minutes in the saddle. He was in the final stages for his preparation for the 2022 edition of the Tour of the Alps, a 5-day stage race set between Italy and Austria in the stunning Alps. A race which, in 2019, offered Pavel his very first victory in the professional cycling peloton, taking out stage 2. Further, by way of bio, Pavel turned professional on 2 wheels in 2017, signing a 3-year contract with then Team Sky, now Team INEOS Grenadiers. Pavel finished 9th in the Giro d'Italia in 2019, which was in fact only his second Grand Tour. Furthermore, Pavel competed in the 2020 edition of the Tour de France and the 2020/2021 Tokyo Olympic Games. So get set for a fun look at a professional cycling, rising stars, highs, lows and learnings. Here is my conversation with Pavel Sivakov. Pavel Sivakov, welcome to the Physical Performance Show. We've been working on this one for a little while.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Finally made it. Pleasure to be on your show. So yeah, as an avid listener, it's just a pleasure.
It was a real buzz when your team, INEOS Grenadier teammate, I should say, Cam Worth, prior guest of the show back on episode 310. Cam messaged me and he said, my teammate Pavel Sivakov told me about your show yesterday in training. Told me Jack Haig got him into it over a year ago. You've cracked the cycling market. And I replied, well, that's amazing. See if Pavel would be happy to be a featured performer.
Yeah. I am happy. There's a lot of new stuff to learn on your show, like from different sports and also different physiologists, sport nutritionists, and yeah, a lot of information, new information to get. I mean, as an athlete is also, I reckon, part of our job to try and discover, what can make us better athletes. Of course, we have a lot of people around us, especially in a structure. I'm really lucky to be in a structure like Team INEOS, where, yeah, I would say that some of the best people from in all kind of jobs, like coaches, nutritionists, and to support us. But at the end of the day, it's also part of our job to know all that kind of information.
Are you a natural learner like that, Pavel, or is that something that you've always been inquisitive? Because I know there's some athletes that don't want to really learn and will rely on the expertise of the team around them?
I reckon I'm a bit in between. Like, I know I wouldn't do something myself, like I need the expertise to, like, let's say, confirm something. I would try and learn, like, if I hear something interesting that seems interesting to me, like I try to listen and try and pick up some interesting information for myself, and then maybe ask my coach or ask the nutritionist about some stuff. And then if I get, like, let's say, the green light, because at the end of the day, they studied for it, they have the knowledge. It's like, I won't learn them anything. It's like they won't learn me how to ride a bike. I won't learn them how to do their jobs. But at the end of the day, just trying to see some new information and, chat all together. And I'd just come with what's the best for me. There's always some new things to learn. And I would say a bit in between really.
Well, it's refreshing to hear, and it's really is quite outstanding. Pavel, you're sitting at the top of Sierra Nevada on a training camp. From my calculations, just 6 days shy of the Tour of the Alps, where you'll be riding for Team INEOS. What has today's training looked like? I know you're sitting down to record this with the show at the end of your day's training. What was today's training, Pavel?
Today was a rest day, actually. Was a rest day today. We just came out of a hard block of training. 3-day block. Pretty tough efforts on the first day. Then middle day, more general ride, but still a little bit of efforts, like some SAP, as we call it, sustained aerobic power, which is more like zone 2, high zone 2. And then yesterday another pretty big effort day to empty the tank. And now we kind of taper into Tour of the Alps. So 2 easier days, like almost full day off, just 50 minutes spin on the bike today. Tomorrow a bit longer, recovery ride about 2 hours, and then another 2-day block to get the engine going, and then travel, easy day and race. So now is the taper started. So and coming to the end of the hard training block here in Sierra Nevada.
It sure was. I looked at your Strava there, Pavel, and you're a great follow on Strava. It's all up there. Your last week, 767 kilometres, 18,609 metres of elevation gain, 28 hours, 35 minutes in the saddle. That is a big week.
It was a big week, actually. We're only 2 guys. At the end, this season was a bit weird, actually, not even because of COVID, but there was a lot of sickness going around in the peloton, and a lot of programs changed this season. And we ended up only with 2 guys at the camp. Usually like this is the Giro group altitude camp. Usually we're always about 5-6 guys, and this year, because of all the sicknesses going around, we ended up only with 2. So we're only 2 guys here, and training with 2, like on a training camp like this, is always harder because you kind of riding in the front all the time. You can't really, spin the legs in the wheels. So it's me and Salvatore Puccio, Italian rider. So we just kind of, getting the miles in together. But it's been a great camp. We're only 4 people from the team. My coach Connor Taylor and our Swanee Marco Zalo, Slovenian guy. So we're only 4, small group, but the atmosphere is great. So I quite enjoy these small camps as well. Sometimes it's just keep it in just together all the time. It was a nice one.
And banking some great quality work ahead of the upcoming tour. Your story, Pavel, you made international headlines in cycling in the sports world recently in March, where you are now representing France. It was a statement published on the Team INEOS page there, where you state that one of the driving reasons, this has been something you've been in the process of for some time, but is obviously the situation in Ukraine at the moment. I know you've probably spoken about this a lot, but obviously this is near and dear to you to represent the French people. You grew up in France after being born in Italy.
I'm born in Italy and then grew up in France. So both my parents are Russian, and both of them were professional cyclists. So that's how they moved to Europe. They were both in Italian teams. That's why I'm born in Italy. And then my dad signed a contract with the French team, and we moved to France. I was 1 year old. So basically you could say I'm in France almost my whole life until now. Now I moved in Andorra recently with the the last 3 years I'm living in Andorra. But otherwise, I grew up in France my whole life, went to school there, had all my education in France. Because my parents were both Russians, I didn't have the nationality as a youngster. When I started cycling, I was Russian. And, first I could compete in the regional events. And then I started winning. And then they told me, you can't compete anymore because you're not French. Because when you, let's say, win the regional event, then you qualify for the nationals, and obviously I couldn't do that. And it's only when I turned 18 that I got my French passport, because obviously I applied for it. I was more more than eligible. I grew up there, I went to school there, and there was no reason why I couldn't get the French passport. And by the time I was already racing for the Russian national team on the junior levels, actually U17, I did already a race for the national team. I just didn't do the change straight away. Kind of carried on with Russia, and obviously for me, it was easier to get selected. I did Pro World straight away as soon as I turned pro, and then in 2020 I did the tour, and I realized, this was kind of a click in my mind. Why this is really I raced on my home roads where I started cycling, where I grew up, and there I was racing the tour. It was kind of the dream, what I was dreaming about my whole life. And I was like, this is maybe, I feel like all the support from the fans, the French, because it feels like home. France is my home at the end of the day. I never lived in Russia, and I only went there on let's say holidays, or at the end of the day, if you sum up how many days I was in Russia, it's less than a year, I think, in total. So but the question was that I would miss Tokyo Olympics, and I really wanted to, as an athlete, this is also something you want to do in your career, just being able to tell your kids, I did the Olympics, and if I would swap for French, I would miss Tokyo. And Tokyo was kind of a hard terrain, hard course that would suit me. That's why I decided to stay. And then obviously just kept going. And now this unfortunate event happened. It kind of accelerated that process. I can already race for France from this year. This was not the reason, but just that accelerated the process. And it was really quick, actually. I sent the request, the request was done once to the UCI, and in 2 days I was already French for the UCI. What was your Olympic experience like? I believe you finished there at 32nd. Obviously, it was the break. It was a tough day. What's your recollection? Your reflections of your Olympic debut? It was a weird one, to be honest. It was different from usual Olympics. I think this is something I hope it's not gonna happen again, to be honest, because of the COVID. It was really weird. You fly in, you don't see anything really. You just get to the team hotel, spend 3 days there, a bit almost in isolation. You just go out for a few rides, and then you race, and straight away you go back. So I just raced. It was a hard race, nice race. It was a specific one. It wasn't my best race, from performance side of view, it wasn't my best day. But it was weird. It was just it was Olympics, but it wasn't much different from another race, really, I would say, for a cyclist, because we didn't even see the Olympic Village because our hotel was outside of Tokyo. It kind of felt weird. I really, I couldn't see it because of the rules. I had to fly back straight away after the race. So it was a weird one, but I did the Olympics. I'm an Olympian. So it was a weird experience, to be honest. I really hope to do the Olympics again, and really hope to experience what it is really, how are the real Olympics. I heard from other athletes how it was, and I think it's more than just our race and that's it. It's a whole village. It's a bunch of different sports. Actually, I haven't seen any other athlete from different sports, so it's a bit of a pity, really. Would have been really nice. Well, looking ahead to Paris 2024, home nation Olympic game. That would be another great. That would be amazing. I would love to qualify for that. That's for sure. I think it's going to be really hard. To be realistic, it's going to be really hard. Even the course would be, I guess, I don't know how would be the course really, but they would probably make it suitable to Alaphilippe. That would be my guess. And yeah, I think obviously with France, it's one of the first nations in cycling, so it's really hard to qualify there. And Paris will be a massive event. So no, that's great. Yeah, I would love to do that. Definitely looking forward to it.
A few more 18,000 meter elevation weeks at Sierra Nevada should do it just fine, Pavel.
Yeah, I guess I need to add more wins as well.
Mate, I mean, you're young in years. You turned professional, I believe it was 2017. But if we just loop back to your parents, both successful Russian cyclists, Alexei Sivikov, your father, who won the Tour de Serbia in 1994, your mother, Alexandra, gold medal at the UCI Road World Champs in the team time trial in 93 and 94, the Russian national road race champion in 96. A real pedigree. Did your parents fuel the cycling fire, or were they like, Pavel, you do whatever interests you?
I didn't go cycling as my first sport. I think, I did a lot of different sports before to start cycling, really. Like soccer, football, as we call it here. Even judo. I started with judo. I think that was my first sport, actually. Then I did, soccer, even basketball, handball, like a lot of different stuff until I was 13. And then when I was 13, I kind of went for a club ride in Saint-Gaudens, which is in the Pyrenees. And then I was a bit chubby at the time, not super lean. But although I was pretty good, I could follow the guys who were training, let's say, every Wednesday. I think the trainings were on Wednesday. I could follow them, and I enjoyed it, really. I was on a mountain bike. We went on a road ride, but I was on a mountain bike with slick tires. And still I managed to follow them. So yeah, I kind of got into it, and every Wednesday I would go for that club ride. And yeah, that's how I got into sport. And then I started racing a bit later. Got a road bike and started racing. My parents never pushed me into the sport, really. I think it was just that they didn't push me into it, but it was always around in the family. We would always speak about it. So I kind of grew up with it without practicing it, let's say, as a proper sport, as my first sport. But then I got into it, and obviously then my parents got into it with me, and it was great to have them. I for sure, as they went through a lot of that, and it was great having them, all their experience. But then it just carried on, and now I'm also a pro rider, so that's pretty cool.
Here you are, Pavel Sivakov. You won the National Junior Road Champs in 2015. At what point in your early career did you realise that you had talent? You had the interest, but at what point did the penny drop and you recognise that, okay, I've got some talent here? Was it early? Or?
I would say maybe 3 years into, I was maybe like 16. When I realized I could do something. There is the European Youth Olympic Games that are held, I think, every 4 years or maybe 2 years, I don't remember. And obviously I couldn't do it with France, so I was winning like all the regional races in France. Like let's say every weekend I would go out and win, and I would win every weekend. And then I heard about this Youth European Games, and I had to go to Russia to qualify with the Russian national team. So I went there and qualified won the TT to qualify for the Youth European Games with the national team. So got there, and at my first international race when I was 16 or 17, I don't remember exactly, probably 17.
Wow.
That's where I realized, when you're at that age on the international scene, you're like, okay, maybe that's something I can do in the future. That's what I wanted to do. At the end of the day, also seeing my dad, in my mind, I wanted to be a cyclist from when I started riding. So then from that age, I qualified for that. I didn't get any medal, but I had like a top 10 on the TT. And then the year after, I carried on with the junior national team. Also had some great results. And from juniors on, when I won like Junior Flanders, I understood that maybe I could do something, real in cycling. And then I got into BMC development team in 2015 or 16 maybe. And that's where it all started, really. I think really more serious. then from there on, just 2 years in BMC development team, and then I signed my first pro contract with Sky, which is INEOS at the moment, INEOS Grenadiers.
You're arguably the most profiled, winningest professional cycling outfit on the planet. It must have been quite a buzz to be surrounded with really a plethora of Grand Tour champions. You look left, you look right in your team, and you have Grand Tour champions all around you. What have you learned through such a high performance environment, Pavel?
Oh, I've learned a lot massively. It was great. Like for me, it was like a dream, having Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas, Chiato, like all these guys around. It was weird, but at the same time, it felt kind of normal because these guys, they are normal. When you meet them in real life, they are just super simple guys, down to earth, and I got a good feeling with them straight away. And I also massively respect them. I will always respect that kind of guys. I grew up watching them on TV, so even if they are teammates, I will always, whatever they say, I will respect their words. So I learned a lot. Then in my second year in the team, I changed coach, and I went with Tim Kerrison, who was the coach of them boys, the big guys. And that's where I would say, I spent quite a lot of times with guy like Chris Froome, with G, with Chiato, because that was his group. I went like on the first Tenerife camp before the Giro 2019, with Chris, just by looking how he does things, how he approaches things, just super professional, and his commitment as well is just unbelievable. Like he works so hard, like G is the same. These guys, they just work so hard, You understand, it's not a surprise then when you see them winning so much that they are so successful. They just put the hard work in. It was just something, I wanted to do like them really. As a young guy, I wanted to I wouldn't say copy them, because I understood like everyone is individual, but I wanted to kind of tend to do like them. And I'm just super lucky. I think also with Tim, I learned a lot in terms of training, a lot of really good stuff. And I think I've been really lucky to be surrounded by all those kind of people. It just brings you, that put you, just seeing them, you just want to be good.
Iron sharpens iron, Pavel. You said that the likes of Chris Froome and Geraint Thomas, that they were so committed and hardworking, but surely at that level, everyone's working hard in the pro peloton.
Oh, definitely. Everyone's working hard, but I think these guys, this is a bit another step, like you got guys, everyone is working hard, but you got guys who work even a bit harder. And there are one of them, there are some of them like this, but also you need obviously to know the balance as well, because more is not always better. And I learned that myself, also sometimes maybe overdone it, trying maybe to do too much as well, like maybe a bit too much volume, or like, you're worried a bit not to do enough hours. But at the end of the day, sometimes you might forget that recovery is sometimes more important than getting that volume, a bit more volume or a bit more work.
Well, internationally touted recovery scientist Pavel, Dr. Shona Halson, who's appeared on the show, she has that beautiful one-liner: the only training that we benefit from is the training that we recover from. Powerful, right? Yeah,
I've made a mistake to sometimes want to train to be too much, do a bit more, like you need to shave off some weight maybe, and you just need to understand that you need also to be fresh to perform well. And this year I made a bit of a change, I would say. Also sometimes with nutrition you want to push it, and at the end this is not the best, when you squeeze out the weight too quick, it's not the way to do it. And that also realized it, and I think this year I changed a little bit my approach on all that kind of stuff. We had a new nutritionist coming in the team, and he kind of changed also my vision of nutrition. We were a bit, maybe I would say, not scared of carbs, but on, was the low carb maybe diet going on around. Wasn't, I wouldn't say a trend, but was something a lot of riders used to do. And for me, I would say it was, I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it again, but now how I approach it is better than this low carb approach, I would say. Yeah, a few changes in my training and in my approach this year. Obviously, team left the team as well, so I changed coach.
Yeah, so you've got your new coach. The change in your view or vision of nutrition and some of the mistakes you said you've made. What were you noticing when you felt like you'd overdone the workload, or maybe you were in a bit of a caloric deficit? Like, what were you noticing? Just numbers were off. You were feeling flat.
Not really. I could really get to a good level, good weight, but it was much more harder mentally. Let's say I needed to lose 3 kilos. I could lose it pretty quick. Like, let's say in less than a month, I could lose 3 kilos. I would push the diet, like do low carb rides. Obviously, it's a big demand for the body, and it's hard mentally also because you have to restrict yourself much more and you feel hungry. But still, you can maybe have a rough period at one point, but then after that you kind of replenish and you're going good. I was going good. Like, I had really, especially in 2020, I was going really well. At the end is more the long-term effect, I would say, when kind of the shape starts to drop down and mentally maybe you cannot sustain that diet, and was more like, let's say, low carb rides, maybe try to restrict the carbs some more than I do now, then the weight will go up pretty quick. Now the change I make more was like not being scared of the carbs. Actually the opposite. You just eat normal. Don't be too stressed. Just keep that little calorie deficit, but kind of eat more when you're riding. I wouldn't eat too much. I would restrict myself even on the bike. And that was actually the biggest mistake, I would say, restrict yourself on the bike. Because now with the nutritionist, which is a Spanish Basque guy who told, he said, the moment to eat is on the bike. When you're off the bike, that's where you need to watch out what you eat more. But when you're on the bike, just get them carbs in, because that's when your metabolism is at its best, and that's where you can get it in, and you're not going to gain weight really. Maybe in the beginning, when your metabolism is not as good, you won't lose weight straight away. Maybe you will kind of gain a little bit or maintain. But then when you get your metabolism going, and that's what happened for me. Like this year, I did it. In the beginning, the weight was quite stable, but then my metabolism started to be really good. I was eating quite a lot on the bike. Just don't be scared to go on an effort days. I can go 80 to 100 grams an hour. This is normal for me on a general day, just by feeling, 40 to 60 grams. And yeah, I got this metabolism going, and now it's actually much easier to lose weight and just constant. And I feel, I don't feel that being hungry all the time or pushing the diet too much. And mentally, I feel much more fresh. That's the biggest difference. It's not on the short term. On the short term, what I was doing, I could do it. But on the longer term, I think this is much more healthy. And I'm still let's say, in the try. I want to see, because this is really the first year I'm doing it, I want to see how it's going to affect, let's say, my off season. How much weight I'm going to put on in the off season now, maybe less than before, because you have this more balanced thing. You don't have this big dip. Maybe it's just going to be more stable, which is going to make myself also a more consistent rider, because for a rider like me, I'm a climber, but I need to be light, I'm 180, 1 meter 88. So for me, in the winter, I can be 75 kilos, but to perform well in the climbs, I need to be 70 or less to be really with the best guys. And it's a big difference. So, also not putting on too much weight in the off season is important. And I want to see on the long term if this is going to affect all of that. And this is, it's a really good change. I've made this. And also I would say, not only on the bike, but outside the bike, I just feel better, more energy, not having too much worries or about this, it's just a good change, I would say.
Energy left over to do podcasts.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Pavel, it's really encouraging to hear even the world's best learning, refining, trying new things. I think it really speaks to you as a learner, and also to the listenership of the show to know that we're all on a journey. So it's really, really refreshing to hear that. I ride here on the Gold Coast in the hinterland, and I know that your team and yourself have spent time here at Tambourine Mountain on the Gold Coast. Your name often pops up in the top 10 lists for different segments. And so It's always nice to see your name up at the top of the Strava KOMs. Did you enjoy your time on the Gold Coast and riding up and down Tambourine Mountain?
Yeah, it was great. So basically, I went to Australia 2 winters in a row. I mean, winters for us, summer for you guys. My former coach, Tim Kerson, is actually living there in Tambourine Mountain. That's why we used to do camps at his place. And no, it was great. It was really nice time. I always had really good memories there. Yeah, it was my first time in Australia, obviously. And I can say, well, it's really rough roads. It's really tough to train there. It was always a hard camp, pretty hard camp. You know, you don't have much flat. It's either you go up really steep climbs or down quick. And yeah, I would set the season pretty well. You know, we would do a really good block there. Obviously in the heat, it's really humid as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Just Australia, like that Australian vibe, I really like it. And I would like to go back definitely to Australia. Always had a good time there. And honestly, yeah, also the roads are really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Like just nice memories from my time there.
Oh, well, hopefully we see you back out on the hinterland roads. And in 2020, you won the young rider classification at the Tour Down Under. So Australia has been kind to you on performance front as well. Yeah,
it was good. That year was good actually. I won the young classification Down Under and then second in the Cal Evans road race. Came close to winning it. So no, it was a good time. It was a really good time that year. And the year before, we also did the Herald Sun Tour. That was also a nice experience in Australia.
So you've had some great results. You mentioned Cadel Evans, a cycling hero for so many Australians. Who were your cycling heroes growing up, Pavel, aside from obviously your parents who we've mentioned already?
When I really started to get into cycling, knowing more the riders, I would say my first heroes were like Fabian Cancellara. Really admired this rider. Then obviously Contador a bit later, and then after them, I would say the boys which I was teammates with, Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas, Bradley Wiggins, Sky, was the team. Like I would look at them and I'd be like, wow, this is top class. This is something.
Wow.
And ended up joining them, so that was pretty cool.
That's the dream of every aspiring cyclist, isn't it? Pavel, what would you say are your top 3 strengths?
I think I'm pretty resilient, hard worker as well. I can work hard, resilient, and third strength, I would say. Yeah, I like to get things done as well. I don't like to just start something and not finishing it.
So completing things. And resilience, I mean, it's a big word. Any examples of where you reflect on your career so far and you're like, I'm proud of exempling resilience in that situation?
Yeah, there is a few examples really, yeah. Actually, Tour de France 2020, I had a really bad Tour de France. I crashed on day 1 twice. Actually, I crashed in the Dauphiné, which was a week before. 10 days before. Crashed pretty hard. Yeah, tried to recover, get back to the Tour. And then day 1, crashed twice. And yeah, I was basically done for the Tour. But I still, try to get up every day and hope for the best. It didn't really happen. I had 3 horrible weeks, but I finished the Tour. It was a really hard Tour. It was a really tough time. I was, let's say in the Dauphiné, I would say my best level I ever been so far in the Dauphiné. I would climb with the best riders, like guys like Roglic, Landa, all them guys. I was, let's say, at the top, and then I went from the top to bottom. I was dropped with the sprinters on like a small climb, and it was pretty hard mentally, that Tour de France. And I just tried to keep believing that maybe I could do something on stage or whatever, and just every day wake up and do something. So I would say, that's a good example.
Yeah.
Finished the Tour. I think the best was like a 4th place on a stage, which is, considering all that, not so bad, especially on a mountain day. But yeah, I can say, I didn't stop.
Gosh.
But yeah, I think honestly, cyclists are pretty resilient guys. You see often like crashes and just guys are just carrying on. I think if you're not resilient in cycling, it's hard to do that job.
Gosh, I mean, what a debut on the Tour de France. 2 crashes on the first stage, and then obviously just a few weeks before coming off as well. When I think about professional cycling, Pavel, I think everyone admires the physiology, the incredible physiology of the pro peloton. But in my mind, the thing that's even more impressive is, as you just said, the grit, the resilience, the psychology to come off, to be back in there. No doubt nervous, but, at it again the next day. I broke a few ribs earlier in the year coming down Beachmont out here on the Gold Coast hinterland. And
I know that climb, actually, Beachmont.
You remember Beachmont? Yeah, it's a nice climb, right?
It's a hard sport. Yeah, I agree with you. It's when you see guys crashing and just carrying on. I think also actually just training. I think endurance athletes are like elite endurance athletes are really resilient people. I think just to be at the top, you need to train a lot. You need to suffer. You need to know how to suffer. You need to put your body, into that suffer mode. And actually, we kind of enjoy it, getting that suffering in, because it's going to make you better. And cycling is adding that also risk of crashing and stress in the peloton, which is really high, I would say, especially on like classics, one-day races, or like Tour de France in the first week, crosswinds, all that kind of stuff is something special. Like, it's actually hard to describe. If you're not in a peloton, you can't really understand how dangerous it is, really. You're going 60k an hour, or like in downhill sometimes over 100, and just have a Lycra has a protection, and you have to trust the guy who's in front of you. If the guy in front of you crashes, you go with him. So it's a scary one. Better not to think about it when you're going down these passes. So
is that your tip? I was going to ask you, Pavel, for some personal coaching on getting the confidence back after you've had a decent off or a decent crash. Is it just don't think about it, just get back out there and don't overthink it?
Honestly, after my Tour de France crash, I quite struggled with that. I would admit it. I really struggled. Like, I had a bad time, and I really struggled in the downhills and just getting back that confidence. And then last year, again, I got back that confidence and crashed again, actually, Tour of the Alps last year before the Giro. So I kind of lost it again, and it was a hard time really recovering from all this. It also mentally was a hard time. And now I started to be back. I took some even lessons with a guy who comes from a downhill mountain bike, and he just kind of, because at the end of the day, no one really taught me how to position yourself on the bike, how to balance your weight, how to do everything right. And sometimes I think the tip would be, you need something in your mind that makes you confident, and for me it was how to do these things right, how I position myself on the bike, how I balance myself in the corners. And as soon as I got this, the confidence came back, because now if I do a mistake, I would know what is the mistake, and I can identify it. Before, I couldn't do it really. I was like, maybe it's myself, or maybe it was a rock on the road, I maybe hit a little bit of gravel, did this, maybe it was slippery. Now I can really identify the mistake, and I know what I'm doing. It's not going to push my risk barrier higher, but at least I'm going to know what I'm doing going down, or like taking the corner. I think it's just getting back that mental, thing that will make you confident. Obviously, when you go down, you don't have to think about crashing or about the crashes. You have to think about your line. It's hard to keep your mind all the time thinking about your line, but let's say you have a straight line, you might think about something, and then as soon as the corner comes, you think about your line, and you kind of carries on like this. I think that would be my advice.
Yeah, wow. And body positioning, any tips there? It's probably a difficult one in audio form, but
it's hard to explain it like this, but it's easier to explain on the road. It's actually quite simple, but the tip would be, so basically you have to, let's say you have a right corner. In the right corner, you obviously put your left feet down. You have to bend slightly your knee, not fully bent, but slightly your knee, so you push with your feet into the pedal, so you're kind of taking off that little bit of weight from the saddle with the feet that is down, and you bend that knee, and you strengthen a bit the opposite arm of that leg, so that will like kind of balance your weight and will make you able to ride on the side of the tire. So you basically balance your weight on the side of the tire, and you can just learn how to use more that tire, that tire surface. And then also with the braking, you shouldn't be scared also. Like, you know, if you're going 40k an hour, 50k an hour, if you brake one time hard with the front, you're not going to go over because the speed is so high, so you can brake later. And then obviously you have the line, which is one of the last things. And the tip would be to divide all this. So when you go down, you can just train braking, and the next time you go down, you just train the line, and the next time you go down, you just train the position on the bike. And at the end, everything is going to come together. Then that's how you get like a better skill than going down. I'm still working on this myself. You know, every time I try to improve all these lines, try to understand like, okay, like here I did a mistake. Maybe I should have like went in the apex later or earlier. You know, it's a process, but yeah, I enjoy it. Like, I think this lesson I took with a guy, you know, is something we focus a lot on our pure performance, like just fitness, but a lot of this also in cycling. You know, it's really important. I think sometimes underrated.
You're listening to Pavel Sivakov, professional cyclist and INEOS Grenadier, sharing on his career highs, lows and learnings. Support for today's show comes from Polar's brand new running watches, the Polar Pacer and the Polar Pacer Pro. These new running watches will give both first-time runners and serious runners the tools and the insights to track their performance and inform their training. Both watches offer an incomparable running experience with powerful training and recovery features that help runners understand their body and know when they're doing too much or not enough to reach their goals. The Polar Pacer Pro is for those who want to run better. It's one of the most powerful and sophisticated running watches ever built. It's ultra light with a high-performance core processor and includes an extensive suite of advanced training tools that will help serious runners improve their running economy and performance. With built-in navigation and running power, it debuts at an incredible $499. Meanwhile, the Polar Pacer is for those who want to fall in love with running. It's an ideal running watch for those who are starting their journey as runners. It embodies the simplicity of running with all the essentials, plus the specialized training, sleep, and recovery tools needed to fall in love with the sport of running. The Polar Pacer will help all runners get started at just $299. So if you feel like it's time to beat your best, jump across to Shop Polar over at polar.com and check out the all-new Polar Pacer range. Support for today's show also comes from Earshots. Lock on, train on, and rock on with Earshots Bluetooth headphones. Earshots have you covered for staying motivated while you train. Their magnetic ear clip means you can push your limits without being distracted by annoying cords or earbuds that fall out. Use the code PERFORMANCE, all one word, at earshots.com for 10% off your purchase. For now, let's jump back with this week's featured performer, INEOS Grenadier professional cyclist, Tokyo 2021 Olympian Pavel Sivakov, sharing on his career highs, lows and learnings. What would you say, Pavel, has been the darkest or toughest day in your career? It sounds like maybe it was that first stage of your Tour de France debut.
Yeah, it was really bad. I wouldn't say the day, but it wasn't the first day. It was just the whole 3 weeks. It was really hard. It was really hard 3 weeks. And honestly, it took me a long time to get out of, even after the Tour, I was never so cooked as I was after the Tour de France. And it took me a really, really long time to get out of it. Like even after the off season, I think I still felt the effect of that. Just mentally, you know, that was really hard 3 weeks for me, I would say. That was definitely the darkest moment of my career.
What's been the highest moment, Pavel, of your career? You've had some great success thus far.
The highest moment, I would say, obviously my first win in Tour of the Alps 2019 was amazing. You know, always the first win is something special. But then Tour of Poland 2019 as well. I won Tour of Poland, the GC. That was super nice. It was great. World Tour race, winning a stage race, World Tour stage race. That was really good.
Yeah, some great success. And looking ahead, Tour of Alps just a few days away for you. And then what can we expect to see from you for the rest of the racing calendar?
So hopefully now the selection is not made for the Giro, but I really hope I would be there. I would hope to do the Giro after Tour of the Alps. That would be the last race prep. I've been a bit unlucky this year with sicknesses myself. I was supposed to do a UAE Tour, got COVID, so didn't go there. And then in Tour of Catalonia, I was ready to do like a good race, which was in March, and got one sickness that I was going around in the peloton. Maybe took out half of the peloton, and like day 3 I had to pull out. So I didn't have much race days, and Tour of the Alps will be a good one to get 5 good days of racing in. I don't know really. I hope the shape will be good. It's a bit unknown. I think it's just gonna go there, and for me the goal will be to get some really consistent day of racing and be in good fitness, show the team that I deserve my spot in the Giro. Obviously, yeah, as I said, I wasn't so lucky, so I couldn't really show any performances, but I will go to the Giro to help Richard Carapaz win it. He's our leader at the moment, so yeah, just be as good as I can, I think so far, like all these camps, all I could control, I did everything pretty well. So now it's going to be up to me to show some good results in Alps, good performance there, and then get selected for the Giro. And then after the Giro, we'll see if I do the Giro, then it's going to be second part of the season. Let's say we'll have a chat with the team. I would be really keen to do another Grand Tour in the year, get 2 Grand Tours under the belt in the season. That would be something really good. I've planned it last year, but last year I crashed out at the Giro as well. So done the Vuelta at the end of the season. But yeah, hopefully I can do two Grand Tours this year.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Dealing with disappointment though, Pavel, if you're not selected, what have you learned about dealing with disappointment? Just head down onto the next one?
Yeah, I think obviously, I would be really disappointed if I'm not selected, but you can't just stay stuck on it. I've done so much hard work for sure. One day or another it's going to pay off. I'm confident on that. Everything I can do, I'm doing it. So yeah, at the end you just have to accept it. It's nothing you can't do. As an athlete, you just have to nail the process. Obviously then perform on the race, but that's part of the process as well. You have the process in training, just nail all the process, but all the variables that comes. It's not up to us, sometimes we just have bad luck, or sometimes you can also maybe sometimes, create your own bad luck. But I think if you're in a good state of mind, you have to deal with disappointment. Just let it come and go on to the next one. Just try to be focused on something, even if it can be hard. I'm saying this now, but it's hard to do.
I think everyone feels disappointment at some stage in different ways. Pavel, performance round. Are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Yeah.
Did Cam Worth give you any tips on this?
No, he didn't.
Here we go. Training session most disliked.
I don't really like this session. It's not that I don't like this session with the high VO2 max efforts. When you got you have to go so deep for 2-3 minutes, or up to 5 minutes. That's the sessions I don't really like. I rather have a long sustained efforts, even 40-30 minutes, because you kind of pace yourself. You're slowly dying towards the end, but you pace yourself. And these 3-5 minutes is just something up to 10 minutes is something horrible. You have to go all out, and it's you have to do it, but it's not my favorite one.
Any specific examples of those VO2 sessions that 5 by 5 minutes?
What did we have? I haven't done so much recently because we are quite high at altitude now. So you don't work too much these VO2 efforts. But otherwise, what was the last one I did? I think was 4 times. I remember a really hard one was 4 times 6 minutes. The first 6 minutes is not all out. It's the power you can sustain for 12 minutes, I think. So basically it's not all out. The first 2 efforts, they are kind of hard, but not too hard. But the last 2, they hurt pretty much. So it's 4 times 6 minutes. So basically you have a long climb, you do 6 minutes pretty hard, rest for 2 or 3 minutes, and then go again. I think it was 3 minutes rest and then go again. And 4 times, that was a really hard one.
And everyone wants to know the power numbers, but you don't have to share them. But I will ask the question all the same.
I think for that effort, it was 4 times 6 minutes at Cap 12. It was about 450, 460 watts So yeah, it was that range. I think on the first two, that's what I did, and then last two was kind of 450, 460.
Yeah, wow. Training session most loved, Pavel?
I quite like the long sustain effort, like a long zone 3 effort with a bit of like spiked in the zone 3, to bring that, to get into that higher zone. Just enjoy these long efforts in the climb, just go in the climb. And I like going fast in the climb, and on these long efforts, it's pretty nice. And quite often, on a 30-minute effort, you also finish at the top of the climb. It's also what I like, you finish, or either you drop down the other side, or you just turn around at the top. It's quite cool. Like a good, it's not like an all-out effort, but it's still like quite a hard one with a good power, but a good zone 3 effort, spike zone 3. I really like this one.
Yeah, so those long sustained aerobic efforts. Pavel, favorite pre-race meal?
Favorite one, it's not that I really like it, but that's usually what I have before race. I just have some rice with an omelette. Try to keep it simple, much easy to digest, and just what you need: rice, omelette. Try to keep low fats, just some pure carbs, a bit of protein, and here you go. I would say that's my favorite one, because that's the one that works the best.
Bedtime, morning time. What does that typically look like for you, Pavel?
I'm pretty early in the morning. I'm always one of the guys who is up, I think, the earliest in the team, really. Bedtime between 10 and 11. Usually always try to go to bed before 11, and always up around 7 in the morning. Sometimes, 7 in the morning, usually. Always before 8. I never sleep later than 8.
That's a good sleep rhythm there. Who's the athlete that Pavel Sivakov most admires, and why?
Most admires. I wouldn't say that I have only one person I admire the most. There is a lot of guys, really, because a lot of athletes, they have different qualities that I really admire, and it's kind of, seeing all of these qualities in all of them. I don't know, really. I never had like one guy that I was idolizing or anything. It was just like really respecting some of the guys. Like I said previously, some of the guys we have in the team, I really like respect them, and kind of admire what they've done and what they do, all that work. Like the guys like Chris Froome, Karen Thomas, Kiato. Super happy he won Amstel actually on the last weekend. So that was really good. I would say all these kind of guys.
It's a good answer. Toughest competitor you've ever raced against? Can you
actually also, I forgot to mention one guy. Actually, speaking of Cam, is also crazy. Like I'm always, wow. Like all he does, like he's cycling Ironman. He just, I think he's one of the guys actually who trains the most, even more than Chris and G. He's all the time. It's just insane how much he loves exercising. I've never seen someone exercise so much, to be honest. And this is what he's one of the guys. When you're a bit tired or something, you see him and you're like, maybe I'm not. I should toughen up a little bit.
That's brilliant. Toughest competitor you've ever raced against? Is there one competitor that's just been a nemesis for Pavel?
Now in the pros, I never really had like a rivalry with someone, because you race, the field is so big. Like you always race different guys. But back in younger days in U23s was one Belgian guy who sadly passed away in the Tour of Poland. I won actually, Björk Lambrecht. He was a really talented guy, and we would always kind of compete for the win on the stage races. And he was a really tough competitor for me. And obviously it was really tragic when he passed away after Poland. It was really hard for everyone. And still. Obviously dedicated my victory to him that moment. But now toughest competitor, I don't know. For everyone in the peloton, I would say Pogačar now. Obviously, I think the whole peloton is just, when he's racing, kind of competing against him, he's unbelievable.
What do you think sets him apart, Pavel?
He's just, just so good. I never ever think he's just so versatile, and yeah, you know, when in the climbs, like he just rides away from everyone. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's like one of a kind, you know, one in a generation. Even like not even only one generation, few generations. You don't see guys like this too often. You know, he like usually Grand Tour riders are really good in Grand Tours, but then he shows up in Tour of Flanders and almost wins the thing. And you know, it sets the class of the rider. He's just good everywhere, and not only in one thing. He just every race he goes, he can win, and that's why this guy is different.
Yeah, wow, what a talent. Is there a mantra, Pavel, that you use when you race or compete? Any regular self-talk?
Oh, yeah, there is one quote. I remember where I heard it. It's sometimes when you're hurting or something, you're like, even just what a moment of pain can be a lifetime of glory. You know, sometimes you just have to keep that suffering going, and you know, can be glory. Like a lifetime is just a moment. You just get through that moment, and maybe you know it will be a lifetime of glory, and you will succeed. You will achieve what you want to do. So. Yeah, I think sometimes, you know, that's what I tell myself.
It's a lot of power in that. Best recovery tip, Pavel?
Before I just relax, man, enjoy your day. Yeah, rest to be the best, really.
Rest to be the best.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sharp. That's brilliant. One word to describe your racing style. What would it be?
My racing style. I think sometimes I'm generous in racing. Sometimes I need to be less generous in my racing. You know, just kind of keep it for the end, or keep it a bit more on the pedal. Sometimes I'm a bit too generous racing, giving a bit too much too early.
Generous, you mean doing too much work for others, or you mean?
Obviously, I work for others, you know, as a teammate. But I mean, no, generous in terms of maybe sometimes I could save a bit more. You know, just try and save a bit more to be more fresh towards the final. You know, obviously, I've always been like pretty strong physically. So, you know, sometimes some guys, they have to, from a young age, they have to save themselves a bit more, like stay in the wheels to win. For me, you know, a lot of my wins came like just not really, let's say, the best, just because I was strong, I was able to win. But yeah, you know, that's still something I need to learn. You know, although I'm pro already, it's my 5th year, I think, and you know, my 4th year, and I still think like I still have a lot to learn. Really, still feel like I'm not new pro, but I feel like I've learned a lot, but still a lot to learn. Like I definitely have more to show and more to prove.
2 questions left in this performance round, Pavel. How would you describe being in the zone? When you're in the zone, what's it feel like?
Well, just focus. You know, you don't see anything from the outside. You just think about just your stuff, what you need to do, what you need to get ready, and that's it. You know, when you go out there, you go out there to kill it. You know, just no doubt, just be confident and go for it.
Yeah, beautiful. And lastly, hardest training session you've ever done? Any really memorable sessions? We know that epic sessions, as Dr. Stephen Seiler says, don't make champions, but still a fun question.
Hardest training session? You know, sometimes the hardest training session is not always like the hardest on paper, what you've got on paper. Maybe you just have a bad day and it becomes the hardest one. I don't know why now. One in my mind is I just didn't feel so good, and I just suffered like a dog for the whole session, trying to do what I had prescribed. You know, I could bail, but I just tried to do what I had prescribed, and it was really hard. Again, was some VO2 effort involved. So like a sprint of 90 seconds, a minute sprint all out, 30 seconds recovery, and then you go into 15 minutes like zone 3, mix of zone 3 and threshold. And I remember like these first minutes of full gas just killed me. Obviously you go full and then you recover only for 30 seconds and you have to go again. That was pretty tough.
Yeah, tough day in the saddle, Pavel. You are out of the performance round, so you can chalk that up as a session. A listener question came through. Some final questions here, Pavel, from Shannon, who asked, what's the best advice Pavel has ever been given?
Best advice I've ever been given, I think, is actually it comes back to that disappointments we were talking earlier. I think, how to deal with all that. At the end, when you can deal with disappointments and setbacks, then that's the most important thing. You can just work hard and see something and work towards something. And I think it's that you can only control what you can do. All the other factors outside of you just have to accept them, because it's not something coming from you. So just do your best, and whatever comes, and just believe in yourself that by working hard, good things will come.
By working hard, good things will come. And that brings us to the two final set questions, Pavel, that every guest of the show gets asked. And that is, if you had to boil everything you've learnt through your cycling, professional sporting career to date into one single piece of advice to help listeners of this show perform at their physical best, what would Pavel Sivakov's single piece of advice be? One piece of advice.
I think, it's at the end is a bit cliche, but you have to like what you're doing. You have to enjoy what you're doing. You don't need to. Obviously, sometimes you need to go over your. Sometimes maybe you're not in the mood, you're tired, but you still need to go out there. But just don't forget what you're doing, why you're doing that. Back in the mind, at the end of the day, the purpose. I think that's the main thing. Just don't forget the purpose, why you're doing this, and why you're doing. Yeah, at the end, the purpose is the main thing. If you ask yourself why you're doing your sport, or why you want to be at your best physical performance. You have a purpose for that, obviously. So for some people, it's just to be fit. For some people, it's to win something, and at the end, if you don't have any purpose, then maybe there's no point doing it. But I think that the main thing is to always remember the purpose. And that would be my best advice. And obviously enjoy it, as maybe when you start, you don't really have a purpose as well. You just start discovering a sport and you kind of get into it, and then you start coming with goals, because at the end you need goals as well. And that would be that. Never forget the purpose.
What is Pavel Sivakov's purpose?
Well, I just want to, in 20 years time, I want to look back and in my career and be like, okay, I've done all I could, no regrets. I've done everything I could have done. I don't want to regret anything that I could have done. Obviously, sometimes, like I said, you have setbacks, you have a crash or something, but at the end, I just don't want to regret. Maybe I could have won something or could have done something differently. Just no regrets in 20 years time when I'm finished with the professional sport.
Yeah, that would be the dream, right? To have left nothing behind. Pavel, every guest of the show issues listeners with a physical challenge for the week. So what is Pavel Sivakov's physical challenge going to be? Is it going to be VO2 efforts, or is it going to be what's it going to be?
No, VO2 efforts is a bit too hard, I reckon. I give you a good challenge for the week. Get a good session in every day, or whatever you're doing. Don't skip any session, just every day get something. If you're a triathlete, just run, bike, swim every day. If you're a runner, just get at least 1 hour every day. At least 1 hour,
1 hour a day, 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
And we haven't done this for a while, Pavel, with a featured performer, but I feel it's worth bringing it back because it's quite fun. And it's a cliched old question, but it's fun. And that's the question of, if you could have dinner with three people, living or past, who would be at your dinner table and why?
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
Tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I reckon maybe I would go with a football player. Maybe Zidane. I don't know if you know Zidane, football player, a really famous French football player. Yeah, pretty interesting character, like a really famous guy in France, I would say, with him. And not only in France, everywhere in the world. Really famous guy. Actually, no, I would swap him for Pantani. Yeah. I just want to, this guy is like a bit, he obviously tragically passed away, but I think he's got some interesting, like maybe not funny stuff to say, the way he passed. But yeah, Pantani, I think that's a really interesting character. Maybe a guy like Jeff Bezos, would be interesting. Oh no, Elon Musk. Elon Musk would be the second one. I think he's got some really interesting stuff to tell, and just probably knows so much, And then the last one, so Pantani, Elon Musk, and actually let's keep Zidane then, the third one. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's a hard one, honestly. Like I said, I never had any idols or anything, in my life. Now I'm purely making this, because I'm trying to think who's interesting, but I never had someone I was like, I want to be him. Like, I never had this.
No, that's an interesting table. It was Marco Pantani, Elon Musk, and Zidane, the ex-French soccer player.
Or maybe, instead of Zidane, I would go for like a president of some country. Macron, even at the moment, president of France now, or like Sarkozy. I just like, or like even US president, whatever, like Donald Trump. Yeah, actually, if I just have a crazy story, go with Donald Trump. Just listen while like, that'd be a crazy table.
Brilliant, that would be. Pavel, you used the word generous through this recording, that you've been generous in the in some of your writing. I would say you've been very generous with your time in sharing with us so graciously. In an important stage for your racing calendar this year, just a few days out from the Tour of the Alps. So thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing. And we can find you over on Instagram at Pavel Sivakov. It's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. It was a pleasure.
So there you have it, another episode of the Physical Performance Show, and I trust and I know that you enjoyed Pavel's share-ins. A big thanks once again to the sponsors of today's show, Earshot's Bluetooth headphones and Polar with their all-new Polar Pacer and Polar Pacer Pro running watches. Now, if you're yet to follow Pavel over on Instagram and you'd like to follow his journey, jump over at Pavel_Sivikov, Sivakov, and follow his journey leading into what will hopefully be an action-packed and successful season ahead for him. A massive thanks to those who are supporting the show via Patreon. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so from just $5 per month by jumping over to physicalperformanceshow.com, clicking the Patreon tab, and there you can pledge your support. In return, we'll grant you complimentary access to our back catalogue of all live stream events and complimentary access to all upcoming live stream events, with our back catalogue including 2 epic live streams from Dr. Stephen Seiler and live streams from acclaimed UK sports dietitian Rennie McGregor and Australian-based but global recovery expert Shona Halson. A big thanks to our new show patrons, Cooper Doreen and Elaine. Thank you for your support. Now, as always, this show would not be possible without some great folk. A massive thank you to Daryl Misson, audio engineering, Susan Wilkin, show administration, Matthew Olding, show graphic design, and our new video assets from Milan Borrow. Do jump over to YouTube if you are yet to subscribe, and there you can now see video content of the episodes. Of course, also visible over on Instagram at Physical Performance Show. And as always, keep the podsies coming. That's the episode that you're enjoying at any given moment, and tagging in the show at Physical Performance Show. Now, coming up on next week's episode of the Physical Performance Show, we adhere to the rule that repetition is the mother of all learning. So we will be doing a learnings catch-up episode, looking back at some of the recent top share-ins from our expert editions. It helps us all absorb the learnings and apply them, most importantly, in pursuit of our physical best performance. So until next week, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.